this would be good for anyone that is struggling either with objections or booking appointments, or struggling with no-shows and need help with suggestions for tie downs or what have you. If there's anything anybody wants me to specifically hit on, you can put any comments or questions in the chat, and then we'll leave it open for like a Q&A. And then we could also do like a role play and go back and forth on some objections and some lines for your phone script. For everybody that's here, who's like brand new, has only dialed maybe like once or twice, or hasn't dialed at all? Okay, cool. So a couple people. Okay, awesome. So the biggest thing in this business, there's only 3 things you need to focus on. And the first one obviously is the phone. The phone is, they say 80% of the business, but I'm going to argue it's more like 90%. So the biggest thing when you're brand new that you do need to focus on is having a lot of activity on phones at the start. Before, hold on, someone's unmuted. Okay, I think I muted everybody. Cool. So the biggest thing you need to focus on when you're brand new on the phone is just to focus on having massive activity and massive reps first. And then you can focus on tweaks and adjustments later, after you've at least run your first 15 appointments, and then focus on, what are some things I can tweak and adjust to get better at the beginning. So that being said, 90% of this business really, I think, is the phone, and then 5% is the in-home, 5% is product knowledge, really. Because if you have enough people to go see and you keep doing it consistently, you'll get better over time. And then 25% of the people that you sit down with usually buy from you. Another 25% won't buy no matter what. And then the last 50% of the people that you go out and meet with, as your skill and as you get better at honing your craft, you'll be able to close a higher percentage of those. So when I was brand new, I sucked and I wasn't very good, and I got really nervous in the home, just like how I'm nervous now. And one thing that always kept me focused on was like, hey, if I get good enough on the phone, I can book enough appointments that I'm going out to go see that 25% of the people that are going to buy the insurance no matter what, and I can't mess it up because they filled something out looking for it. So that's arguably my reason why I think the phone is the biggest and most important thing in this business to focus on when you're brand new. That being said, the phone script and booking appointments itself it's not very complicated. A lot of times we make it a bigger deal in our heads than it actually is. And when at the end of the day, it's actually really mundane. It's just boring, making phone calls, sitting in the office, dialing the phone. And the biggest objection that you have to learn how to overcome when you're new is, I don't feel like dialing. That's the biggest objection. All the other stuff, it's not that big of a deal on the phone if you get not interested or what have you. No, the biggest one is, I don't feel like dialing. So you have to learn how to overcome that on your own first, and then you can learn how to overcome other objections. So I have a structure here put together for a phone script. Let me see if I can share my screen really quick. Okay, so the phone script is pretty simple. The most important thing in this, when you're dialing the phone, it's not exactly what you say, it's how you say it. So your tone and your cadence is way more important than the actual verbiage or words that you say. Sometimes if you have the right tone and cadence and you have confidence in your voice on the phone, you could say pretty much anything you want, and sometimes you could say something crazy and still book an appointment. So I broke it down here into 5 or 6 basic steps, and I'll kind of just run through this with you guys really quick. Now, the biggest thing with the phone is you want to meet people where they're at. So if you're calling an internet lead, or if you're calling a final expense, mortgage protection, it doesn't matter. You want to pay attention to what the client says on the phone on the other end. So if the client is low and slow and they say hello, you're going to want to say Bob, hey Bob, and you're going to want to match their tone and cadence. If the client is upset, if the client's loud, if the client is in a rush, you want to speak fast and you want to meet them where they're at. So if the client yells at you the third time you call them, they say what, you're going to be like, Bob, this is Sam. So you just want to meet them where they're at. You don't want to be meek if they're loud, if that makes sense, because they'll hang up on you. So the first part of the phone script is going to be your introduction with your tone and cadence. And this is the most important part to nail at first. So you're going to want to basically, the introduction, the first part of your script is going to be who you are, why you're calling, and then to verify their information. So for instance, my script, hey Bob, hey, this is Sam. I'm giving you a call in regards to the request you sent into my office, looking for information on the state regulated life insurance programs. Birthday listed here was 7/7/1988. Was that correct? And then I let the client speak. I don't let them interrupt me. I don't let them say, I don't let them interject, and I don't have any pauses. So it's very clear and concise. And then I let them speak as soon as I'm asking a rhetorical question. Obviously, I know their birthday is right. They say, yes, that is my birthday. Perfect, Bob. My job is simple. I'm the underwriter assigned to get the information to you. We had the zip code. Now, I say zip code when I verify an internet lead, because a lot of times what you'll find is on internets or instant internet life leads, sometimes when people fill those out, they fill them out on their phone. And you'll notice whenever you type stuff into like Amazon, or you type stuff into stuff that asks you for information, your phone has something called cookies on it, and it saves information. Now, it like saves passwords, it saves addresses or what have you. A lot of times people don't update what's saved on their phone. So sometimes they'll auto-populate with an old address on there. So sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, but I just go with the zip code because I know that 100% of the time it's probably going to be correct, just because you have to actually type that one in. It doesn't auto-populate. So I confirm the zip code. Is that up to date? Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Outstanding. And then I get right into basically explaining the process, which is the second option. So explaining the process, this is the part where you explain to the client what the appointment is going to look like, why you need to have an appointment, how to get the information back out to them. So the way I did it, I got it from Paul McLean. Hey, the programs are non-medical. There's no nurse that has to come out and check your blood pressure or make you pee in a cup. Ha. They pay me just to get the information to you and lay eyes on you to make sure you are alive and breathing, and ask some basic health questions to figure out which companies you qualify for. And then I go right into part 3, which is clearing the schedule. And this is also an important part because you want to make sure before you even book an appointment, you need to know what their availability is before you give away yours. So clearing the schedule, there's really good questions there that you should ask every single time you book an appointment is, I want to know if Bob is working, retired, or disabled. Now, Bob, are you working, retired, disabled, unemployed? Oh, I'm working. I work 9 to 5. Oh, nice, Bob. Me too. And just a little more, actually. Now, are you married, single, widowed, divorced? Bob says, you know what? I'm married. I have a wife. Oh, awesome, Bob. That's great. If Bob's single, one thing that I like to ask is, hey, Bob, that's great. Is there anybody else that needs to be there to help you make any decisions? Because sometimes they say they're single, and then I find out that they have a girlfriend or they have someone there that needs to be there to help make them decisions. So it's just one thing I say to help get it in front of that before I drive out there. And then the fourth part of your script is going to be going into booking the appointment and tying it down. So this is going to actually nail down the appointment, and then you're going to want to make sure that they know it's an appointment for life insurance and that they're going to be there. It's nothing more frustrating than when you think you thought you booked 10 appointments and then you go out and you get 8 no-shows and 2 people are there and they thought it was for Medi-Cal or something, you know? So this part is you want to be super clear with the client. Now, Bob, I don't have a ton of time. They have me seeing a ton of families the next couple of days. It takes about 15 minutes to get you the information and drop off the options. What time are you and Mary both usually home from work on Wednesday or Tuesday, whatever day that I'm going to be dispatched out in that county? You know, they have me dispatched out in the county in the next couple of days. I don't have a ton of time. It takes 15 minutes. What time are you home from work? And then whatever time Bob says, you know, he might say he gets home at 3 o'clock. I'm going to say, perfect, Bob. I don't have a 3 o'clock, but I have a 4 or I have a 5. Which one works better for you? And the reason I say that is I don't quite give them the exact time that they're home, because sometimes people run late from home and I want to seem busy. So I want to seem that the more busier you sound on the phone, the more valuable and the more value it seems like you have to give, especially if you have so many people to see. So it just builds up value and increases a little bit of credibility. And then after he picks a time, if he picks, 5 o'clock or if he picks 6 o'clock, I say, great, Bob, can you go ahead and grab a pen and paper? And this is where I begin tying down the appointment. And what I found was I used to get no-showed a lot, and it made me upset. So I used to I used to give out like 4 or 5 tie downs, like some hard tie downs. And what I found was I actually started to scare the clients away. So they didn't show up on purpose. I feel like a sweet spot that has worked in the script for me is having like 1 to 3 strong tie downs. So right here, I'll just kind of go over what I say usually when I'm tying down the appointment, and then I'll kind of explain why I do that. So say, Bob, can you grab a pen and paper? I want to give you my information real quick, and I'll have them write down, my name is Sam. This was for the information on the state regulated life insurance. And I'm going to give you my state license number, and I'll send you a picture of it with my ID. But it is, 410-1733. Great. Now, Bob, our appointment time, what did you say worked best? So I'll ask them rhetorically, but also earnest, like genuinely. I don't say it to try and sound smart. I say it like I'm actually asking them, like I forgot. Our appointment time, Bob, what did you say worked best? 6 o'clock? Okay, great, 6 p.m. Now, Bob, they have me seeing a bunch of families tomorrow. So if you can do me a favor, give me an hour between 6 and 7 in case I hit any traffic, would that be fair? And most of the time they say, yes, of course, that sounds fair. I used to give myself like 30-minute windows. And what I realized is I would run behind during the day and I would hit traffic in Southern California. So I'd show up an hour late, they wouldn't be home. And what I realized was the psychology of asking for an hour of time, even though I said it takes 15 minutes, is that if you have something that's broken in your house and a plumber needs to come over, the plumber in the office doesn't say, hey, he'll be there between 5 and 5:15. No, they say, hey, he can be anywhere between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. They give you huge hour windows. So I figure for life insurance and for meeting with clients, if we give ourselves an hour of time, even if I show up on time on 6 and I close them, it's going to take an hour anyways. So that's why I say that, to give yourself plenty of buffer and room in between. Or if you get no-showed, you can hit some door knocks on the way to your next appointment. And then I say, awesome, I look forward to meeting with you and helping you. I want to sound helpful, and that leaves that last little touch of like, hey, I look forward to bringing you value in meeting with you. And it kind of cements a visual for them, or I'll tell a joke and I'll say, hey, great, Bob, I look forward to meeting with you and helping you. I'm blonde and I have a huge nose and I drive a great Toyota. I'll see you then. And then I send a text with an insurance license and ID. And then I let them know, hey, it's Sam. I look forward to meeting with you and helping you at 6. And so for me, those are kind of some like 2 to 3 tie downs where I just reconfirm the appointment. I reconfirm the appointment time. I have them write them down. And, obviously sometimes, if the client kind of sounds half in, half out on the appointment, I'll give more of a harder tie down where I'll say something like, hey, Bob, they have me seeing a ton of families tomorrow. Is there any reason you wouldn't be home between 5 and 5:30 tomorrow? Just let me know now if you're not going to be there, because if you don't want to be there, I'll put someone else in that spot. That's kind of the psychology behind that. I'm going to see if I can turn my, but I hope does that kind of make sense to you guys? Okay, did you guys have any specific questions about any of the structure, kind of how it was? You guys can unmute and just ask too.
Hey, I like to ask, what do you do when you get clients that are trying to take control of the call? How do you get control back when immediately they just try to start asking a lot of questions?
I try not to, I don't want to argue with them. So it just depends on what they're saying. So if they're trying to take control, if they're trying to say something silly like, oh, I didn't fill that out, or I just kind of agree with them and I move forward. So, if they're trying to take control or trying to take control of the conversation, like, I didn't fill that out. It must have been some crazy thing, or I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just like, hey, that's perfect. That's perfect, Mac. That's actually the reason for my call. I'm assuming, probably someone that loved you enough looked into this for you, because this was the insurance that most people use to cover their funeral expenses or to leave money behind to their family. My job's just to get the information to you. We had the zip code here is 92351. Was that up to date? And I try to hop right back into the script. A lot of the times I try to just reconfirm what it was for. All right, and I try to remind them a little bit of the value to where they realize, oh, this was for life insurance to cover this expense or whatever. And so I just try to bring up a little bit of value and then move forward right back into the script by asking another question and taking control. So the people that ask questions the most keep control, right? It's the same thing with the in-home. If you keep asking good questions, you're in control of the whole conversation, even though you're listening and they're answering. So same thing with the phone script, is try to say whatever they say, no matter what. It's always perfect. That's why I'm calling. And then that acts as a little buffer to give you time to realize, is this an objection or a complaint? Most of the time it's a complaint, and you just move forward anyways. Hell yeah, that's perfect. That's why I'm calling. I'm assuming you did this just because you wanted to make sure your family was taken care of, right? Okay, well, we had the zip code as this. Is that right? Does that make sense? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's good.
That's usually what I try to do. And then, does it work 100% of the time? No. Is it supposed to? No. The people that hang up on you and the people that give an objection or 2 objections and then say, go kick rocks, you don't want to meet with those people, because even if you did meet with them and you did write a policy, it would cancel. It wouldn't stay on the books.
I got in a little late, so excuse me if you've already covered it. The 3 objections that I get most often, just curious how you handle it. I already got a policy, or already got it taken care of. Did you already cover that?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Okay.
No, so that's actually, I had one of those today, and this is what I did. They said, oh, I already have life insurance. Perfect. That's actually why I'm calling. I was just the underwriter assigned to get you the information about the state regulated programs out to you. I'm assuming you sent this in because you were just trying to make sure you had the best price. Was that right? Client says yes. Okay, great. My job's just to get the information about the state regulated plans to you. What you do with it's up to you. Hold on.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And the plan, and then I just move forward right back into the script. That's usually what I do. So I think the thing that helps me the most, it was just memorizing like a buffer for rebuttals, and then having like 1 sentence or 2 sentences memorized, because I still use a script. So one thing that for new agents, if you can just nail down memorizing your phone script and structure, and then being like kind of, you don't want to, it's not, you don't want to sound like you're scripted. I realize like having a conversation with the client is the best way to do it, sounding conversational without sounding scripted. So memorizing a structure versus memorizing word tracks, word for word, that's always what's worked better for me. Because sometimes the clients say silly things, so you have to say silly things back to them, and then you got to move forward with your structure.
It's good. Can I throw another one if no one else has another? Second one that I get often is I'm busy.
Hey,
or they're doing something right now.
Hey, perfect. That's actually why I'm calling you, Mac. I don't have a ton of time right now. What time are you and your spouse generally home on Tuesdays?
4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
Awesome. This was in regards to the state regulated life insurance information. My job's just to get you the information. What you do with it's up to you. The plans are non-medical, so they just have me see you, ask a few health questions, and drop the information off. It takes 10 minutes. They have me out in your area. Are you still over at the 77 Success Lane?
Yeah.
Awesome. They have me out by your area, just down the street between about 6 and 7. So I can see you then. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, great. I'll see you then. So that's a quick set, and then I'll shoot a text message to try and tie it down. And then I'll just put in my notes like, hey, quick set, and then if I have time later, if I don't feel like they didn't see any value in it, or if I feel like, I don't feel strong about it, I'll just call them back later in the evening and be like, hey, Mac, we talked earlier today, but I didn't have a good feeling about it. I just want to let you know this is what this was for the life insurance. And I'll try to just go through the script again with them and try to have a harder tie down.
You do that same process if you do a telesale when someone's busy? Do you book appointments for telesales, or do you do more one call closes?
So I'll if anything, I'll try to do it for the day of, but a quick set, and then for a telesale, I mean, phone appointments anyways have a higher no-show rate. So I can't count on it. And I feel like I would count it as like a half appointment, if anything. And I'll try to nail it down for later the day of. And I wouldn't depend on it because, with telesales, you're going to be dialing the phone all day anyways. So, if I'm going to try and call them at 5 o'clock if they said they're available, but if they don't pick up, I'm not going to be upset over it because what did I expect,
So which have you been doing personally more, telesales or appointments?
I've been doing in-home appointments. Because Jordan, I did in-home all last year. And then once telesales started becoming more training came out, I started listening to some of it and I was like, man, I can do this. I'll kill it. And I did telesales for about a good 6 months or so. I did it probably between December to about May or June. And what I noticed was, for me, there was a lot more time spent on the phone in the office, which is normal and standard for telesales. I just, I noticed, I was like, this is great, especially if you can't go out and see people. This is a wonderful opportunity. But for me, the monotony of being in the office all day kind of just got to me.
So it's just the lifestyle of telesales is pretty much.
I gained like 25 pounds. Like I couldn't do it.
Okay.
I couldn't do it.
Sometimes I get some people like, oh, it's harder because of this, but some people just actually like being active and being in the field, and that's the reason for that. So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's really no personal, like, oh, this is a little easier that way. So it's pretty much purely what you like to do at that point.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Another question. What information do you take with you to your in-house appointments? Like what I know you would take an iPad. I don't know if you take a laptop. What kind of paperwork do you take with you, I guess, to show the clients?
Yes, ma'am. So I bring my state license and I bring my driver's license. And so I'll actually, like, when I'm with a client, I'll pull out my wallet and I'll show them my license. And then I bring a financial inventory and a carrier sheet. So on teamffl.com under downloads, there should be either a financial inventory or it'll be called carrier sheet. And this is what I show the client at the beginning. And it has all the insurance companies we partner with, specialized mortgage protection, life insurance, retirement planning. And then I'll bring for example, I'll bring a financial inventory and I'll fill this out with the client, has all the health questions. I'll ask everything on a financial inventory sheet. And I'll bring like a scratch paper to show options or something like that. But if you go to FFL or teamffl.com under downloads, you'll find a ton of resources and PDFs that you can bring with you. But iPad and financial inventory is all you need.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Do you ever run any like Wi-Fi problems? Maybe you get to like an older couple's home and they don't have Wi-Fi. How do you pivot? Or do you like hotspot it from your phone if you can, or what?
Yeah, I had a hotspot when I was brand new and I had my laptop. If you're brand new, like you can really make it by just a laptop and hotspot. Okay. And, you know, seeing if the client has a Wi-Fi router. Once you've kind of made a couple sales and once you've kind of gotten like a rhythm going and you built some momentum, then I'll suggest getting like an iPad with cellular service, which is what I have now. Verizon's really good, so I'd use them.
Okay.
Sam, on the initial call, do you bother getting any kind of meds or any kind of health history at all? Or are you just trying, obviously in the in-home, you figure you can probably get that when you're in the home? Somebody was just asking.
I usually do the health questions in home, but one thing I do add sometimes as a tie down is, hey, Bob, when we're writing everything down, I'll say, hey, Bob, who's going to be your beneficiary? And they'll say, oh, you know, it's going to be my son, grandson, Mario. Okay, great. Awesome. I look forward to meeting with you and helping you. So that's one thing I'll get as a beneficiary. So that way it kind of reaffirms why we're meeting, who is this going to be for? And, you know, it's a legitimate appointment to get insurance to pay out to somebody. I got that from Michael Herman. He's awesome.
Hey, Sam, another question. How many times, if you have a specific number, do you overcome an objection to try to book an appointment? When do you say I'm done? You just call it.
It depends on the leads. So like, for instance, today I'm just dialing through a bunch of my old stuff. You know, I picked out like 100 to 150 old CRM leads that I already bought that I had sitting in my CRM that I haven't gone through in a while. So I just picked those out. And, you know, with certain leads, like if it's brand new, the client just filled it out, I'm going to fight for that appointment no matter what until they hang up, you know? But if it's, you know, if I'm working old leads, you know, if I'm in between, you know, weeks or whatever, if I got to make something happen, I'm just going to put in a ton of activity and then I'm just going to churn and burn it. So, you know, if they give me one or two strong objections and I can't overcome it, I'm going to fight once or twice. But at the end of it, if they're, you know, I'm going to save my energy and keep moving forward because I have a ton of more leads to do, which is, you can do that if you have enough leads. But if you have, you know, 30 leads and you have to make something work, you can't do that. You know, or if you have brand new leads, like fight for them because you just bought them, you know.
Do you leave a message or text leads that you're unable to get a hold of?
Oh, I text them all the time. Yeah, I text and voicemail all the time. Phones that go to voicemail, their phone's off. And a lot of times you'll find that they're, you know, they might have like an iPhone. You see the blue when you text them. If they have an iPhone, you can FaceTime audio them. And I've booked appointments doing that. So I'm like, oh, their phone's off, but I can FaceTime them. Or if they, you know, I'll shoot them a text message if it goes straight to voicemail. And I'll just do my text message script, which is super simple. It's the intro of the phone script. Hey, this is Sam. getting back to you about this request you sent in. I'll send a picture, even if it's an internet lead, because it has all their info on it. My job's just to get the information to you. And here are the available times. What works best for you and your spouse? And I booked appointments that way over text.
And what's your strategy on that piggyback? Do you wait to the end, mark them, who needs to be texted, or do you stop and do it right then?
So I'll do it as I go. So the way I kind of always switched up the pattern of how I dial, just because it keeps me from getting bored or getting off track. So one thing that keeps me focused is I like to do stacks of 25 out of 100, and I'll triple dial them. And then, I might get 5 people to pick up, book 1 or 2 out of the 5. And then I'll start over again on that same stack, but instead of 25, it's 20 now. And I'll triple dial them again. And I do that 3 times. So I've basically calling one stack of 25 9 times in a row. And then people that go to voicemail, or people that I can't get a hold of or whatever, I'll shoot a text message, leave a voicemail.
That's good. Now you're doing this for the iPhone thing. That's assuming that you're calling them with your phone, not with phone burner, right?
Yeah, that's just me calling them with my phone. So I'll use phone burner, and I've used Ringy. I like both of them, and they're all good. I just switch it up sometimes. Sometimes phone burner, it runs automatically, and then I get distracted doing other stuff. And if I'm distracted, a client picks up, my tone isn't there because I'm like, oh, hey, Bob, hey. And then, I'm distracted, so that they can sense something like, oh, this guy he's just calling a ton of people. He was not paying attention. So I'll switch between the 3 of those platforms just to mix it up every once in a while, dialing the phone automatically and then using like phone burner or what have you.
Just to backtrack a little bit, you talked about when you have more leads, you can kind of, you don't have to fight as hard. What is like enough leads, you know what I mean, in your opinion, to do that method?
Dude, so to do that method, honestly, man, if you're working a new batch of leads, you bought those leads. So,
right.
And I would fight, I'd give like 2 or 3 strong rebuttals. And if I can't get the appointment, most of the time the person hangs up on me, if that's the case.
So would you say like 100 to, 100, 150? Is it kind of, I just want to push through my numbers? Let me go to the next person, or what's a good number to like focus on numbers? You know what I mean?
The cool thing is if you're using platforms like phone burner or Ringy, you have enough time, and it gives you enough activity to where you can hit 150 leads and dial per day. But if you're dialing manually, keep it between 100 and 125, just because to really work them and grind them out, you're like, the average dials per hour when you're manually dialing is going to be like 40, if you're going fast. So, if you're making $40 per hour, it's going to take you like 12 hours to hit 500 dials.
Exactly.
Phone burner, you can hit 500 dials in two hours.
Okay.
So
I'm not at the phone burner yet, so that's good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So I would keep it between 100 and 125. And then when it comes to booking your appointments, I rank them out. So if the client gives me 2 objections, I'm not feeling super strong about the appointment, if they're going to be there or not, even if I booked it already. So I'm going to know, okay, this client gave me 2 objections. I have this appointment at 12 o'clock and I'm on the phone with someone else and they say they can only meet at 12 o'clock and they're ready to go. I'm going to double book it.
If you don't feel too for certain and you kind of still go ahead with it, in my mind, to me, it would feel like they weren't for certain anyway, so they might be more of a higher chance of a chargeback. So is it actually worth it to even, I don't know, you get what I'm saying? Kind of the vibe you tell from I don't want to book
when I rank it,
chargeback.
Yeah. When you rank it, you don't want to rank it on whether or not you think you'll sell them. You want to rank it on whether or not they'll actually be home.
Okay.
And so one thing that I struggled with a lot was I would book I would have like a bad day or whatever, and I would book maybe 8 appointments for the next 2 days. And the way it would look like is like one day would be like 3 appointments, the other day would be like 5. And what I realized was, hey, I shouldn't run days like that, especially if you're going out in the field, because this business is going to feel like it's not working if you leave your house and you have less than 5 appointments for the day. So like, if you kind of run into problems where like, man, I booked like 2 appointments tomorrow and they're 2 hours away, like don't go, just reschedule them. Like just reschedule them until you have at least like, don't leave the house until you have at least 5 families to go see that will be there, you know? Because otherwise what you'll see is like, it's way more exhausting emotionally. This business is way harder and it's emotionally exhausting if you're running like 12 appointments a week. Because what you'll notice is you're only running like 40 a month or something like that. And then you'll notice like, I didn't make any money my first 2 weeks. I made 2 sales my 3rd week. And then like my 4th week, you know, I'm back to this roller coaster of up and down. And so it's way more exhausting to run 10 to 15 appointments a week versus running. Now, if you're full-time, 15 is great because you're only running Friday, Saturday, or whatever days you can run. But if you're full-time, it's way more exhausting to do like 10 appointments a week versus trying to hit a full 25 to 30 a week. Because it doesn't really feel exhausting once you build up momentum and you start running a full consistent schedule. But once you go back down to like 10, 12 appointments every week, it gets a lot harder.
So would you say that you're running 100% of the in-home right now? And when are your dial days? Monday, Thursday, run days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, so that's my normal schedule. And now the way it looks is, you know, if I don't hit at least, you know, 15 if I don't have a full day of like 8 appointments and I only have like 2 on Tuesday and then Wednesday I have like 7, I'm just going to stay and I'm going to dial again Tuesday to at least book, you know, 10 to 12 on Wednesday. So that way I can get a full run day. Because what you'll notice is your in-home is so much better once you have more families to go see and help. Because when you're running your in-home and you only have like 4 families to go see for the next 2 days, you like, whether you know it or not, you're going to come off more desperate and you're going to feel more uncomfortable in the homes versus when you're running a full schedule. Because when you're running a full schedule, you don't really care if the client's going to buy or not. You know, you want to help them and serve them. And you'll be more confident. That's what I've noticed. When I'm running like a half schedule, I get more desperate and I don't close as high. When you're running a full higher schedule, full time, you know, you kind of get into emotion and you build momentum and, you know, you don't care what the clients say or don't say just because you have so many people to go see. You're confident.
Hey, Sam, do you have this from you running any like percentages where you kind of know even before you make dials or even before you go run what you can expect, or do you just kind of run it blind?
I mean, I've been doing it full time for over a year now, so the numbers have pretty much stayed the same, and it's been consistent to what the general like FFL numbers are. So, you know, if I start dialing at 7:30, I usually end up booking like 5 appointments by about 10 a.m. consistently between 3 to 5. And if I already have 3 to 5 on the books by 10 a.m., I feel confident for the rest of the day. And it's pretty easy to be able to hit 12 to 15 appointments if you start at 7:30, dial through the afternoon, and then hop back on the phones in the evening. So usually I'd say I'd split my weeks into dial time versus run like field time. So I guess, you know, for every, you know, maybe this is an internal sales conference, so I can talk about like what I invest into leads and stuff, right? So truthfully, I mean, what's crazy now is we have work spots. When I was brand new, we didn't really have work spots. So in order to get instance, I had to have at least $1,000 to be able to invest. And so if that got me about 100 instance. And when I was brand new, I struggled on the phone for a few weeks, but once I kind of figured out a good structure and tone, I was able to book about 12 to 15 out of 100 instants. And out of those 12 to 15, I would set, at first my show rate wasn't good, but eventually my show rate, I would sit out of 15, that sit with about 12 or so. And sitting with about 12, closing 50% at first, I would close probably between about 3 to 6 policies, depending. And that's been pretty consistent throughout. Now, the amazing thing is my favorite thing is when we get the 1-month-old internet life lead discounts, because those things are already like $4 and they were like 40% off. So you can, like, as an agent, you can get 100 leads for like $300. That's crazy to me. So I love the 1 months just because I don't notice that big of a difference in terms of performance between those and instants, and they're way cheaper. So I'd rather get the 1-month-old internet life leads, to be honest, especially if they're only $300.
100%. Let me go way back real quick and ask you this: when you get your leads, how do you organize them? Do you do Excel, put them by city? How do you, if you're calling the whole county, I know you're in Cali, so how do you keep from driving all over the place? Or do you worry about that at all?
I guess, so Trey said, he told me this the other day, we're in San Bernardino County, and that's the largest county in the United States. So sometimes we get leads that are in like Needles, California, and I didn't know how far that was, and I looked at it and it's like 3 hours away. So and sometimes you'll book like 1 or 2 appointments out there, and it's like, man, that's like 3 hours away. No, in terms of organizing, when I was brand new, I didn't do that, and so I had to learn by being baptized in fire. So I'd book appointments in like Blythe, California, and then I'd look, oh, that's 3 hours away. So now I kind of got a general like idea of how to memorize zip code, just because I've driven everywhere by now. So I don't necessarily do anything as far as organization wise to figure out cities, and I just kind of remember the drive time to actually get there. So a lot of times what I'll book anything local that's like nearby within a 45-minute drive in the mornings and evenings. And then I'll book the far wide spread out appointments probably in the middle of the day towards the afternoon, early evening. Just because I can gauge as far as traffic times and everything like that.
Good answer, man.
Yeah, I hope that helped.
Sam, you said that you have a script in front of you when you're dialing, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of, I don't know, it's a habit. Sometimes I don't, most of the time I do though. I just print out a script, and I mostly use it just to kind of, I don't know, keep track of what I'm saying sometimes, and just keep me focused. It also makes me sound kind of busy when I'm reading through it. I don't know.
You print out your leads when you go in, or just so a digital version?
Both. So I'm a big stickler with printing out leads. I like printing them out because once I see a big old stat go down over the course of a day, it makes me feel good. And then also it's nice because I can keep track of what are my door knocks going to be and where I'm going to be. So I can kind of plan with Road Warrior, which is a good app. If you don't have it, download it. You can organize a route if you're running in homes, and you can plan out, what towns you're going to be in. And if there's a lead that hasn't picked up or you haven't resolved it, you can go out and you can door knock it. And it gives you the exact route and how far and what would be the optimal way to drive to every door knock or appointment.
Hey, speaking of that, how do you incorporate door knocks in a day that you got booked? Let's say you book 7 to 8 appointments, but you do have a lot of no answers, or the rest of the people. How do you do that?
Yeah. So since I have like an hour window between each appointment and I ask for an hour worth of time, if I get a no-show or if I get porched, I'll kind of set a minimum activity thing. So like with door knocking, if I get a no-show or a missed appointment, I have to do at least 4 door knocks till I go to my next appointment. And so, I'll be able, a lot of the times I'll be in a city and then I know my next appointment's an hour away, but because I gave myself an hour window, I have time to do 4 door knocks. And then if I get in a home with somebody, even though I may be running late to my next appointment, I focus on loving the people that I'm with and not trying to rush it or mess up the presentation or try to think, oh, I don't know, I'm going to get to my next one. So love the people that I'm with, because chances are my next appointment might not even be there, but I'm here with this person right now. So.
Can I ask a question, Sam?
Yes.
Hey, so when you say your door knocks, are you taking leads that you already have that you couldn't get a hold of, and those are your door knocks, or are you literally just going next door to the next people?
It leads. Yeah. So it's literally the people that I couldn't get to pick up the phone, didn't respond to text messages, or if they told me no. So, I've had, the thing that messed me up is that I've had clients tell me no on the phone, and then I door knocked them and they bought from me in person. So I was like, okay, no on the phone doesn't mean anything. It just means either not right now or they weren't listening. So when it comes to door knocking leads, even if they said no on the phone, it doesn't really count until they say no to you to your face. Now, is going out and door knocking all of your leads just because a great use of your time? No, because the thing is we book appointments and go see families. But if you can't book enough appointments and you can't go out and get more leads, go out and door knock and just resolve them. Focus on the activity and focus on resolving them in person.
Do you have a ratio of your DKs to appointments to sits? And second, what do you say to a door knock? Do you say anything different if they said no, or is it just the same script on the door?
It's a pretty similar script. So, I used to overcomplicate it in my head, and I thought I would get really nervous doing it. But I mean, it's actually kind of, it's the same thing as a phone script, just at the door. Sometimes they'll even remember you, like, oh, I talked to you like yesterday. Like, yeah, but they send me out here just because, a lot of people don't really realize what it is on the phone. This was for the information on the life insurance to cover your funeral expenses or leave money behind. Do you remember sending this in? Yeah, I do. Yeah. I'm like, okay, great. Well, it only takes about 5-10 minutes just to get you the information. Would you like me to take my shoes on and off? Can I come in? Yeah, come on in. So, or if they say no, I'm not interested. Okay, I'll head out. At least it's resolved. So like I'd say out of every 25 doors that I'm knocking, I'll probably get about 5 to 10 people that might be home. And then out of those, I'll probably get 1 or 2 that I can get inside the door on. And if they're not home, I consider it resolved. There's like a delivery sticker notice on the FFL store. You guys can get them, or you can get your own off of Amazon or what have you. I might have it here in my backpack. Let me see. I think it's in my car. But oh yeah, here it is. So you can get something like this. The one on the FFL store is better. But it says, while you're out, you can write life insurance, mortgage protection, final expense, put here, hey, trying to get you the information, call back 760-559-3809. And so at that point, I know I've done everything I can for this family to try and reach out and get the information to them. And if they don't call me back or what have you, I'm just going to keep moving on to the next lead batch and to the next family that I can help.
Hey, are your scripts, your opening script, is it different at all depending on the lead type? Same? And if different, what deviations do you make?
Yeah, so anything aged, I change it up a little bit. You know, it doesn't.
And what do you consider age, by the way?
Oh, I meant like any like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or even the stuff that's like a year old, like 1 year old mortgage protection, or anything that I don't know if those are still on the CRM, but if you guys are running anything like mortgage protection that's a year or older, the script's a little bit different and the approach is different on that. But in terms of like lead type, like instance, or the postcard for final expenses or mortgage protection, honestly, it's pretty much the same. For mortgage protection, it's always, I sometimes I do the mortgage protection office, sometimes I just send a postcard about the insurance that pays off the house if you pass away. Do you remember sending that in? Yes. Okay, awesome. And then the postcard for final expenses, it's honestly, I feel like it's the same thing as instance. Hey, this was in regards to the state regulated life insurance information you requested for. Is a postcard you mailed into my office. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Now, do you have a preference?
For what? Sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. Do you have like a preference? Like, is it more mortgage protection you like to run, or final expense, or?
Dude, I really don't have a preference, but I'll tell you what has worked best is when I run everything, like a combination of everything all at once. So what I noticed was I would run like one single lead type, and I would have a bad day dialing, and then I would blame the lead, and I would think, oh, it must just be these internet leads. These must be the problem, just because I got burnt out. And then one day I switched, and I started trying to buy like mail stuff on the CRM. I'm like, I'm only going to buy these. And I got burnt out on those too. I got smoked.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, it can't be both of them. Right.
Right.
And so what I found is that once I was running a mixture of everything, I realized all the numbers are really pretty much the same. So, you need a high amount of activity on the phone to hit your 15 appointments. Doesn't matter the lead type. It's all work anyways. And so what I found was if I try to get like new mortgage protection, I would get smoked, and I'd be like, these leads are the worst.
Right.
And then the ones I booked that kept me in business that week were like the 3-month-old internet life leads that I had a week ago that I called through again just because I needed something to call.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, when you run a mixture of everything, that's the best way to do it, because then you can't blame a lead type, and then you're also like, the ones you think won't, and the ones who wouldn't, you thought wouldn't, will. It's funny.
I was going to say, back to the mail-ins. When you ask them, do you remember filling this out? I stopped saying that just because most of the time they were saying no. Do they say no a lot to you, or how would you rebuttal that? What would you be your,
See, that's like arbitrary. It's just like yes, no, outstanding. That's actually the reason for my call. And sometimes I don't always say, hey, do you remember that? I say, we had the zip code is this. Is that right? Sometimes I just get bored of saying the same thing over and over again. So I just switch it up. But that's like one of those things where it's your tone and cadence and moving forward. So if they say, oh, I don't remember filling that out. Perfect. That's actually why I'm calling. That's outstanding. My job's just to get the information to you. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, but the zip code was 92345 in Victorville. Is that up to date? So if you don't make it a big deal and you move forward, sometimes the clients will just like let you keep moving forward because they just say silly stuff. I had a client over this weekend. I was calling a 6-month-old final expense lead, and I called him, and he called me a bad word. And then he was like, you're an effing liar, click. And then I sent him a picture of the card, and he's like, I didn't fill that out. And I just sent the phone script in a text message to try and book an appointment with him. He said, meet me on Friday, 3 p.m. Like,
We've been trying to transition our team to say, instead of I received the request, I received your information.
Yeah.
Because then it doesn't, there's not really an objection. Like, I didn't send anything in. It doesn't matter. I received your information. And then
Yes.
I've got your birthday as 1/13/79. So like, there's nothing to argue with because I received your information. Here it is. Is that correct?
Yes. I didn't fill that out. Great. I didn't fill it out either, Mark. My job's just to get the information to you. I just work here. I had the zip code as this. Is that right?
Hey, I
This
love
is
how
so
you play with
fun.
it. This is how you play with it. You just got to kind of roll with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, and that's like the biggest lesson I've had to learn was like, okay, if they're acting crazy, like don't take it personal. It doesn't mean anything. Like just move forward with your life. And at the end of the day, it doesn't affect us. It affects them and their family. So they don't really know what they're losing out on. Our job's just to, bring up the value, increase credibility, and reduce sales pressure. And at the end of the day, we can only control what we can control, which is our activity and our attitude. And every time I've ever had a bad attitude that carried with me on the phones, I didn't really book any appointments that day. So it was my fault. It wasn't the clients. It wasn't the leads. It genuinely was my fault. So the biggest lesson I had to learn was don't make anything personal and don't make a mountain out of a molehill and just move on, move forward. And plug into FFL Home Office, FFLFieldTraining.com. Because once you're a part of like a Zoom community and you're dialing and you're participating and you're unmuting, that's how you get better and that's how you get help. And you build a camaraderie with other agents and you feel like you're actually part of a team versus working at home in this little silo, not plugging in. Because people are really easy to give up and quit the business when you feel like you're in a silo or when you feel like no one cares about you. But if you plug in and you show your face everywhere, it's easy for people to care about you and to work with you because you're coachable and you participate and you just, at the end of the day, we're all individual agents just working together. But, the benefits of what this can do for our families is amazing. So I just want to make sure, I just want to make sure there's nothing that I didn't do that wouldn't have benefited my family in this business.
Hey, Sam, how do you prevent from, if you're new or seasoned, being distracted from the Zoom? You already got the anxiety of dialing. How do you transition that? How do you navigate that?
Dude, I think like getting like distracted from from dialing on the Zoom.
Yeah, because you want to listen to everybody, but how do you then transition to you making dials? Like, do you have a strategy for new people that you suggest? Unmuting yourself, all that stuff, because it's going to be a lot sometimes.
You got to minimize your Zoom screen. Otherwise, it's like watching 40 channels of ESPN all at once.
Right.
Just minimize it like it's not even there, and don't stress about picking your nose or whatever else. Otherwise, we're all just going to stare at each other's faces and go, oh, he's not on. What does he look like? What's his background? Oh, who is that guy? You look him up on social media. Like, just minimize it, out of sight, out of mind, and then like bring up insurance toolkits, your script, and pretend you're not even on.
Dude, yes, switching it to like an active speaker, that helps a lot too. And then I think what's helped that I think we could start adding is having like an active hour. It doesn't have to be purely structured, but what I noticed from doing FFL dials and what helped was we just kept getting we had like a structure where people would dial either for a half hour or hour, and it would be someone new every single time, and they had we kept getting new people to come in and participate. We kept getting people to volunteer, kept getting people to come on and dial for an hour. And also like people would comment and listen and be like, oh man, did you just hear that crazy call? Yeah, dude, that guy I can't believe he said that to you. And it would just be like, it would be fun, because I think one thing is we need to keep getting new people onto the Zoom, because if it's a Zoom community of the same, 5 to 10 people that are plugging in, Like, of course it's going to get boring after a while, because that familiarity breeds contempt. Like, we see each other every single day, 9 to 5 on the Zoom. Like, we need to keep getting new faces being plugged in and participating, because that helps new people and it helps seasoned people, and it keeps everybody like locked in, ready to go.
So it's like not going to work and seeing the same 5 people every day, and you're like, there's Mary again, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So I think that's what helped a lot with FFL dials when we were doing it, and there's a lot of agents plugged in on there. I think that helped a lot.
Now, with the in-home, I see a lot of people talk about like objections with banking, but in my
Sorry, Jordan, it cut out for a second. I can't hear you, Jordan.
Yeah, I can't hear you either. There we go. You're back.
Okay, you get what I mean, or maybe I'm just thinking too slight with it, but
Well, what was the question?
kind of like I see everybody always talk about like an objection with like bank info or sensitive information, but if you got an iPad, for instance, like the one I did do, I had my computer with me and I was just like, hey, enter your bank info for the application. And I kind of just slid it to them and it was like, no objection. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So is that really a big objection like people bring it up to? Or because I mean, maybe it's just because I was a lucky person, you know what I mean? But to me, it really wasn't that hard. Like I was like, hey, enter your bank info, and like, oh, and they typed in the computer, then I kept going with it.
Yeah, so bank objections or any objections if you're talking about like the in-home stuff,
right?
It's all about how you're setting the table and you're giving the client expectations,
Okay.
and it's all based on if they feel comfortable enough to trust you, and if you built up enough credibility and reduced like sales pressure.
Okay.
So that's all like stuff you can avoid at the front when you're setting the table, because it's hard to get past an objection, but it's easy to prevent it. So one thing you can do to prevent the banking objection is when you're letting the client know the process of submitting a request for coverage and letting them know everything that's required on the application ahead of time. So, Jordan, when we find something that makes sense, it's comfortable, affordable, and most importantly, fits your budget and meets your family's needs, we're going to submit a request for coverage to the insurance carriers to see if you can qualify. Now, a request for coverage, Jordan, what that is it takes anywhere from a few days to about 2 weeks, depending on the plan and carrier, to see if you can get approved. What they need on a request for coverage is your driver's license information, your ID. Second thing they require is your social security number. That's what all your medical history is tied to, and that's how they review it. And the third thing is they need a financial institution, like a bank account and a routing number. It's how you'd be funding the policy if you were to get approved. Does that make sense? Does that sound fair?
Okay.
Yes.
So is that like one of the most important parts of it, like making sure you hit that right there?
It can be, honestly, it all just depends. So like when I was brand new, I used to always hit on that, and I don't hit on it every time now. I mean, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends on the appointment and how I feel in it. But I'll tell you what, whenever I get hit with a banking objection, I wish I would have said it at the beginning, because it's a lot easier to prevent it than it is to overcome it.
Right.
Overcoming it.
You found yourself kind of just relaxing, like, man, I should have hit it quick, earlier before they hit me with it. Okay.
Yeah, because when you get hit with it, it's kind of like you're on the back foot and you have to rebuttal. Right. But if you prevent it, you're in control, and you can let them know ahead of time. Does that make sense?
Hey, Sam, do you find, is it just me, or since I started doing telesales, now that I look back on it, I don't get banking objections in home anymore, because telesales has made you an assassin. Like,
Dude,
if I do it over the phone, I'm like, if I'm in front of you, there's no way we're not going to do this. But you're right.
yes,
You're right.
dude. Yeah, even if they say like that's something I noticed transitioning back from going in home versus telesales. I was like, man, these people are just giving away banking accounts, But no, yeah, because I was like, even if someone said something like, "Oh man, do I like have to give out my bank account?" Like, yeah, that's how they know who you are. Like they're going to validate that, and that's how you're going to pay for the policy.
Right.
They're like, oh yeah, you're right.
Telesales has strengthened my muscle. I tell you that much. It's like going to a restaurant. Like, I just think it's that cadence, like you talked about. You go to a restaurant. Do I have to give you my credit card? Well, of course you do. You know what I'm saying, right? So like, I have that posture now because of telesales. So I'm really grateful for telesales.
Okay,
Yeah.
my thing is I'm new, so should I mean, because I really feel like I could do telesales, but there's no reason why I couldn't do in-homes as well. So I'm kind of trying to figure out which one I want to actually go with. But I'm probably going to do in-home, because I called a few families, and I was like actually to the point where I was booking appointments, but I kind of stepped back, like, all right, let me make sure I'm all the way comfortable with, like, the script and everything.
Dude, Jordan,
But it really
if
wasn't
I were
hard.
you, man, the first 100 appointments are all practice. I would
Right.
just run all of those as in homes.
Okay.
That's
I'm
the
gonna just
fastest way to do it.
down on your homes, yeah. Okay.
Because honestly, doing it over the phone when you're brand new, like the learning curve's harder. So, if you have no choice and you can only do over the phone, that's perfect. It's great. Like, it's gonna work. Don't worry. But if you had a choice and you're brand new, I just go run 100 in-person appointments, because then at that time when you go and you want to do like hybrid or go to the phone, it's going to be an easy adaptation. It's not going to be that hard to figure out how to do it over the phone once you figured out how to do it in person.
Okay, cool.
It'll be an easy transition.
That was good advice. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you for sure. All right, I got some more questions. A lot of people, how deep do you get with like rapport and finding why? Because I watch different trainings, and some people like seem like they get real deep. Like, hey, if little Johnny if you died yesterday, you know what I mean? Like, how deep do you actually try and push them, or do you kind of just get a main idea of like who they're trying to protect? How far do you paint the picture for them? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
I tell them, I connect with the client and I tell them my story. So like, I was a son that lost a father, and he had work insurance that did pay out and cover because he passed away unexpectedly. So I can kind of connect with the client and build an emotional connection with them there. So when it comes to challenging them about protecting their family, it's a very easy push, because and you guys don't have to have a story like that to be able to challenge a client and push them to protect their family. You guys can borrow stories, or you guys can, build.
No, I was going to say that too, because my dad passed away too. So I was going to try and connect myself, more. And yeah, I get what you're saying, though. So.
And that's the best way to do it. And on Thursday, Matt Goodrich is going to be doing an in-home clinic, and that, like, all in-home questions I think would be perfect for him, because he's a Hall of Fame producer. He's done it over the phone and in person. So he's definitely someone to really like get advice from, and that's definitely something I would ask him too as well.
Hey, are we gonna get a chance to go over some scripts during this training, or is that not happening?
Oh, you know what? Yes, ma'am. So, do you want to do like a role play really quick, or
Yeah.
were you talking about? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do a quick role play. I know the call's only supposed to be between 2 and 3, so I don't want
No, sorry.
run over a ton of time, but I'll definitely do it real quick with you, Cindy.
Oh, okay. Hey, Sam. This is Cindy calling from the Benefit Center. Just about a request you filled out online for information on life insurance. You listed your date of birth as 7/22/89. Is that correct? Sorry, 72. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm actually a licensed broker with the state of California. I'll be able to pull up options for you once and see who will be willing to offer the best coverage and the best price. Now we're doing everything virtually, so it only takes about 10 minutes. Would you happen to have a piece of paper and a pen so we could get this out of the way?
Okay, so are you doing telesales, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let me grab pen and paper. Okay, I got it.
Okay, got it. Now I want you to write down my information. Okay.
Okay.
My name is Cindy Ayala. My national producer number is XXX237. With that number, you can go into the Department of Insurance website and type it in to find me. That way you know who I am. And the state just requires me to leave that information for you for your records.
Okay.
All right, now, did this phone receive text messages as well?
Yes.
All right, have you been trying to get this set up for a while now, or am I the first person you've been in contact with?
You know what? I've been shopping around for a while, and I've been thinking about it for a while, and I've talked to a couple people, but I haven't actually put anything in place yet.
Okay. Okay. Is that because it was too expensive or you just didn't qualify for any of the programs?
I've been procrastinating.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's perfect. That's why we're on this call now. Okay. We could go ahead and move forward here. Do you have any active life insurance that, oh God, just messed that up. Sorry, guys.
No, you're doing good. You're doing
Um,
good, Cindy. So the power questions there are that's like one of the strongest things you can do on the phone for when you're doing your
Okay.
telesale, because the questions you're asking are good. So
Okay.
it's that question. Hey, have you been looking around for a while now, or am I the first person you've talked to about this? That's something that's really important on the phone.
Okay.
So good job.
I'm kind of fumbling over my words because I haven't really done presentation in front of this many people.
That's okay.
So apologies, guys. All
Have you
right.
done, how many presentations have you done over the phone, do you think, with leads?
Like
Have you done any yet?
full through about 3,
3. Okay.
and they all declined.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so one thing you can do, just from your tone, Cindy, is that you're being too subservient on the phone. So you're sounding too nice.
Okay.
And I don't mean to say like sound like a jerk, but like what I mean is like you are the professional. They sent something in. You don't need to sound so subservient. You need to sound like a professional, like you're doing them a favor and giving them a call back. So one thing that Stephen Yee has always said is you want to sound a little monotone, and you want to sound like you're getting paid $2 an hour, 9 to 5.
Like a disgruntled worker.
A disgruntled state employee that's doing, like, giving them a call back. So, one thing you can do is, if you want to try and change your tone a little bit, is you can say, "Hey, Cindy. Hey, this is Sam. I'm just giving you a call back from the benefit center. We got back the request you sent into our office looking for information on the state regulated life insurance. Had the birthday listed here as 5/17/83. Is that right?"
Yep.
Got it. Okay. My job, I'm just the underwriter assigned to get the information back out to you. Can you go ahead and grab a pen and paper? It just takes about 10 minutes. We'll knock this out for you right now.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So I just want you to write down, Cindy, my name's Sam, license number. I'm going to send you a link to the Department of Insurance website. so you can look me up with my license number. That way you know who I am.
Okay, sounds good.
So just the tone can be a little bit different. So you don't want to sound so subservient, because a lot of telemarketers sound subservient, and they sound like, hey, hey, how's it going? You don't want to sound like a telemarketer.
I got you. Okay, they're not my friends.
Yeah, you want to sound like you work at like the gas company or something.
Okay.
And so that's one thing that I think might help you. And then as far as like the questions, the power questions, always ask 2 to 3 of those for telesales.
Okay.
So for anyone that's doing telesales that doesn't have the telesales script, that's also on teamffl.com under downloads. Or if you go to fflvirtualsales.com, it's on there as well. And the one thing Cindy did well was that she asked, do you have anything currently in place? How long have you been looking around for this? And by the way I answered, she was able to identify, I'm a procrastinator. I've been putting this off. And one thing she did very well, she said, well, that's why we're on the call today. We're going to get this taken care of for you, right? So that's like a trial close right there, is saying, hey, we're going to get this taken care of for you, right? Yeah, I probably should. I've been putting it off for so long. So good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then the power questions leading into explaining the process for telesales, it's the same thing as your in-home. And that'll be something that will be really good to go over with Matt on Thursday, because he's going to do an in-home clinic. So I would definitely ask him to do he's going to do his presentation for in-home and for virtual on there. So those are some definitely good things that I could get into with you guys, that he should get into with you guys. But yeah, other than that, I know this call was only supposed to go to about 3:16. If you guys have any other specific questions or need help with anything, I'm going to drop my phone number in the chat. You guys can text me and we'll hop on a call, or I'll answer any questions you guys have. And if you guys need help, just give me a call or text me anytime.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Hope you guys have a
Thank you
great.
very much.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Thanks for